on things, then faculty must have their academic freedom protected.
Welcome to Innovation Springs. I'm your host, Hayley Blackburn, Innovation and Design Librarian, Program Director in C3 Innovation, and Affiliate Faculty with the Center for Research Frontiers in Digital Humanities. Now, this show spotlights the folks doing cool things across education, research, business, and thought leadership. This guest is an academic administrator to give insight into the role of a provost. I ask some questions, and then a student host joins to ask her own questions about impacts on campus. You can find more information and notes about the show at c3innovation.uccs.edu. Let's dive into the spring.
I'm Lynn Vidler, and I am the Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at UCCS.
Amazing. And give me a little glimpse of what that really looks like. What does that mean? Walk me through kind of a day in the life of a provost and executive vice chancellor.
Yeah, so it is actually the number one question that I get when people
sure.
find out what I do. They say, well, what exactly is a provost? And actually the word provost is a medieval English word that is associated with leadership in the church.
Okay.
And then it kind of transitioned a little bit into civilian and academic life. And so dean is also a similar, kind of church leadership role. And so because our Western universities have that long history, then we actually still use the word provost to this day. And essentially what it is, if you think about what a CEO is and a COO, right? So you might think about the provost as like the CAO, the Chief Academic Officer, right? So it's the person who's responsible for setting the academic vision of the campus, responsible for academic excellence, ensuring that our university is accredited properly, and also that engages with the other C-suite, I guess, people. So on our campus, those would be the other vice chancellors on the executive leadership team, along with the chancellor. And I'm the one who represents academics in those conversations.
Okay, well, I never knew the etymology of provost, so already learning something. And yeah, so it sounds like, if we think about the org chart, you're pretty high up in the org chart, kind of helping the mission, the vision, the strategy of academic affairs, representing kind of us to people like the chancellor.
That's right. Yeah. And I mean, for a day in the life, it's a lot of meetings.
Yeah, what does that look like? What did your Tuesday look like?
My Tuesday, I think it was just all meetings. I do try really hard to block off my lunch so that I have just kind of that mental break in between. And I encourage everybody to make sure that you set whatever boundaries that you feel like you need to make sure that you can, set yourself and do the work. But Tuesdays is actually the meeting of the executive leadership team. So we had our ELT meeting on Tuesday morning. I also have regular meetings with, of course, my direct reports, but then there are also meetings that are designed to set strategy, to discuss policies. Also meetings happen a lot where I'm intersecting with at the regent and system level.
Okay, so outside of UCCS, but within our education system.
That's right. Yep. And sometimes the Colorado Department of Higher Ed, and all. Yeah. So it's sometimes our partners at Pikes Peak State College, right? So there's it's a wide-ranging, super interesting role.
Yeah, it sounds like it. You get lots of meetings, FaceTime with key stakeholders, both helping our campus, like internally, and making sure we understand what's going on in the state and the system and kind of our surrounding.
That's right. And the community.
In the community. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, with all of those different stakeholders and strategy sessions, I'm guessing that things like innovation and maybe inspiration happens a lot. How would you really define kind of what innovation means within academics or academic affairs?
well, since we're talking about etymology, innovation is actually it comes from Latin.
Okay.
It's a verb innovare, and so the nov, N-O-V, in the middle of it is
Yes.
new,
Oh,
right? So it's kind of like moving into newness.
okay.
That's where the word comes from, and so we use it now to describe creative new ways of doing things. Usually we use it nowadays for to mean something positive,
Ideally, yeah.
right? Something that's an improvement or a better way of doing things. I'm looking at this wonderful gingerbread banana factory here that was actually, I'm told, part of a social student event of students who are interested in learning about entrepreneurship. And so
Okay.
they had to make a gingerbread design of a new business. So this is a banana factory right here.
Okay.
So this is a new way of making bananas,
All right. I mean,
right?
we can innovate everywhere.
And maybe it's improved. Maybe it's more sustainable. I haven't heard the whole story about it.
Okay.
Innovation for me is also innovative thought,
Okay.
new ideas,
Mhm.
new ways of creative expression,
Yes.
right? That can also have incredible impacts on improving our lives.
Oh, yeah. I love that. And with the idea of creative expression and the arts, which I agree, a lot of times innovation, we focus so much on STEM
Mhm.
and kind of forget how much creativity, inspiration, like innovation has to happen in the academic artistic fields. Your background is actually in studying like academic arts and theater, right?
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So I actually do have kind of a long artistic background
Okay.
that nobody really knows about. But because officially my tenure home is in Spanish
Mm.
literature. So languages and cultures is the department at UCCS where my tenure home sits. And my research is in 17th century Spanish theater. But I became initially interested in performance at a very young age. I trained as a ballet dancer. I danced with the California
wow.
Ballet Company. And I'm also a photographer as well. And so the arts have always been a part of my life.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, maybe why I think about innovation also in that way.
Right through
Mhm.
that vein. Yeah, I can imagine so. Absolutely. I want to push just a little bit more
Mhm.
on kind of what's important in our framework. And especially, I'm on the faculty side. And so thinking about like our faculty and staff, what do you think are kind of the key pillars to really protect, to make sure that faculty and staff are kind of feeling like anything's possible?
Well, I mean, their key work is in teaching, learning, and research,
Hmm.
right? Of course, they also do service that assists with that overall arching framework. Really, the true foundation of that freedom in teaching and learning and research is academic freedom.
Yeah.
That also has a long history from medieval Europe of the church and governments um, preventing or punishing, right,
Yeah.
researchers for their findings.
Yeah.
And so, in order to really make progress on the research and in order to be able to teach students what is the latest research,
Right.
right, on things, then faculty must have their academic freedom protected in order for students to have the most current and accurate research possible as determined by the field, and for us to benefit from the by us I mean society, right? To
Yeah.
benefit from the potential outcomes of the research that they're doing.
Yeah.
So that's really important I mean, it's not just important to me, it's actually my role as the provost to make sure that we are protecting the faculty's academic freedom as per Regent Policy 5. I think the most foundational principle that I'm responsible to uphold.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that. Even my background is media studies, and so often media can be, you know, a site of controversy, and knowing that I have that protection to study, to research, and then to share and teach kind of those findings, definitely hits home for me really, really closely. What is your favorite thing about the UCCS community, and what's one thing you'd like to see evolve about our community?
Ooh, it's a research university, its connection to the community, the amazing people that work here, the diverse student body that we have that isn't all traditional, 18 to 22-year-olds, right? The military connection, because of course, I taught at West Point for all those years. So that's important to me as well. And so it's really just kind of that combination of factors. And of course, the beautiful setting is amazing.
We can never forget.
That's right. Is amazing.
Beautiful setting with a beautiful community.
That's right. And I think, things that we will need to evolve, moving forward. Nothing is ever static. The only constant is change, right? And so there's a lot of change happening right now. The rate of change is incredibly fast, and we're just going to need to adapt and evolve with those changes and make sure that we're still providing the most current, relevant, education that we can for our students. That's right.
Appreciate that. Oh, well, next we have I'm very excited for this. Brace yourself.
Me too.
One of our students from EPIIC, our El Pomar Institute for Innovation and Commercialization, is going to come in here, take my host spot, and has a few questions she'd like to ask you as well.
Sounds good. Thank you, Hayley.
Hi, Lynn. I'm Ariana. I'm the event marketing coordinator with EPIIC, and I'm excited to ask you some questions.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Yeah. So I'm a student on campus, so there are definitely a lot of questions I have about how the Provost actually impacts student life. And I think most students don't know what the Provost office actually does day to day. So I'd love to know 2 or 3 decisions that your office makes that quietly shapes students' experiences, even if they don't really realize it.
Yeah, that's a great question. And a lot of times students don't know that there is such a thing as a provost. Some of them don't even know that there's a dean or what we do or how we impact your day-to-day life. Everything that we do, every decision that we make, not just me, but across the whole campus is really about student success. And so I would say maybe 2 things I'll mention that directly impact students. One is just policy, right? So academic policy. There are lots of academic policies. You can find them on the website of the Vice Chancellor of Administration and Finance. And some of those are like, how do you make a grade appeal? Right?
Okay, yeah.
For example. And those kinds, how do you, or even processes for determining what a grade looks like at UCCS. For example, do we have A minuses or just A's? And when is something pass fail? You know what I'm saying? So those things happen. I think the other thing that we're working on now is improving our scheduling protocols. So how do we know what classes we're going to offer at what times and in what rooms and by whom for next fall, say? Right?
Got you, yeah.
And there's a process for that. And so we're trying to now implement some predictive analytics tools so that we can have better data, make better use of the data, right? So that we know if this many people pass this class and it's a prereq for the next class, how many sections do we need? Do you see what I'm saying, right?
Do you think, and that's something I'm assuming you're partnering with the advisory team as well, so they can make sure that, like, if this is a spring course that is only offered in spring, you know to take it before your last spring or before fall of your last year.
That's right. And so, each vice chancellor has different sort of pieces of this project, right? So this project has been initiated by the Vice Chancellor for Enrollment Management and Student Affairs, right? But we're collaborating tightly because obviously it's the colleges and the departments who actually make the decisions about what to offer and
each
when.
Individual
right.
college. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of things like that. Another thing that we've been working really hard on is trying to reduce wait lists. So if students end up needing a class, but it's full, they have to get on a wait list, right? How do we work to make sure that we have the right number of sections, staffed by the right number of people, and getting people off the wait list and into the classes that they need.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's a very rounded view of what you're doing and the different, connections that you have with all of the different departments and colleges on campus. Like you really seem like you're a through line and a puzzle piece to get everyone to where they need to be. When students think about opportunities like research and innovation and new programs, how does something like that actually go from an idea to being a reality on campus?
Great. Well, so most of those kinds of opportunities are coming up from the faculty themselves,
Okay.
right? And sometimes it is students going, hey, we want this, but it doesn't exist, right? And the faculty members can be the ones to help make it happen.
Especially because I think the relation to faculty is a lot easier than maybe students' relation to you directly.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And in fact, the faculty are the ones who determine the curriculum. Like I don't tell them what to teach. I don't tell them how to teach it, right? They are the experts in the field.
A lot of work if that was the case.
Right. So they are the ones to determine what those things are. Sometimes we get a lot of community interest in like, hey, I need some help with this particular problem.
Okay.
And they might connect with a department or a particular professor to like gather some students together to work on a project. But there are, like, again, it's a framework, right? There are systems for like what is an internship, how do you create one, what becomes a service learning project, what is undergraduate research or just just student research in general. And I can tell you that the faculty members are thinking about this all the time, right? And we're actually really proud of the, especially the research opportunities and internship opportunities that we have at UCCS. We have such good connections to local industry, to community partners, and just making sure that students are pulled into the research labs and different experiments. We just had Mountain Lion Research Day, and that was a sort of showcase of student research where you had undergrads and grad students all presenting work that they had done, supervised by faculty members.
Was there anything that really stood out to you when you saw?
Yes, because there was a couple of students who had just done some research on ankle sprains, and I have recently sprained both of my ankles.
Oh, no.
Not at the same time, but like 2 months apart. So that was particularly of interest to me.
Yeah,
like,
very relevant.
Very relevant, very timely, real world help for people, and just thinking about the long-term post-pain, impacts of ankle sprains and what to do about it. So yeah.
Cool. I'm glad that you're seeing research that you can relate to or want to learn more about that is stemming from here. I think that's a really cool thing.
And not all of our research is applied in that way. Like some of that research, we call it basic research, which is the kind of thing that, you might hear about it and you would ask, well, what's that for? Or what good is that, right? And there may not be an answer right away. It's like, okay, this is just an open question that we don't know the answer to. And someday, maybe even 20 years later, somebody might go, hey, because we know this, and this is a big part of innovation, right? Is that synthesis of ideas, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, somebody published on this, and now I'm working on this other thing, and now I can see a connection between them.
Innovation rarely happens alone.
That's right.
Rarely happens alone. From your perspective, what are the levers a provost actually has in shaping culture on campus?
The leaders are setting the tone, the vision, the strategy, right?
Yeah.
And so that needs to make internal sense, right? It needs to be aligned with the mission. It needs to, in our case, it needs to really make sure that we're focusing on serving the people of the state of Colorado, that we're serving our students, and that we are providing research, new science, new creative works, new ideas for Colorado and the world. And so that is always, driving our decision making throughout. And so that we are developing people, that we're developing ideas for a purpose. And so that's the kind of culture of care that we, aspire to lead. And we're people, so we're not perfect, and we're always open to feedback to how to make things better, because sometimes there are systems and structures that obstruct the desire for us, not the desire, but they obstruct the care that we want.
They may be intended with care, but sometimes they do create structures that are really hard to overcome.
Which is sort of unintended consequences.
Yeah, completely. A lot of students are focused on what comes after graduation. And I was wondering how the Provost office thinks about preparing students for life beyond UCCS, especially in ways that aren't tied to a single major. I think a lot of the colleges and the deans of those colleges are thinking about how they can specifically help their students. But as a university-wide, how are you helping students post-grad?
Right. So before I was provost, I was dean of the College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, which has a lot.
That's where I'm at.
Yay, go LAS. Okay. Which has a lot of majors that don't necessarily tie directly to a particular profession or job. Many of the other colleges do, right? And so this is something I think about a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
And have background thinking.
Have a little bit of background thinking about this. And for me, one of the things that all students, this is why we have the Compass curriculum, right? Our gen ed program, is that we're helping students to develop all sorts of durable and transferable skills, no matter what they do later on, right? So we're teaching people how to communicate effectively, orally, and in writing, right? We're teaching people how to work in teams. We're teaching people how to problem solve. We're teaching people how to synthesize information and translate it into, analyze it into, for some particular purpose, right? And so all of those things help you when you go out to say, okay, well, here's a project that I worked on, right? And this is what I learned doing it, right? Here were the outcomes.
Do you think the Compass curriculum is more about like the practice of that or the actual content of a lot of those courses? Because I feel like with what you're saying, it's the practice, it's the approach to a lot of it, not necessarily the fact that you need to learn this type of history or this type of science.
That's exactly right. So a lot of times people will say, well, I'm never going to use that, like order of operations and algebra or whatever it is, right? I'm never going to use that in my life. Well, okay, maybe you might not use that specific thing, but you have learned a way of thinking, a process by which you might go from beginning to end. You will learn by the mistakes that you make. And those mistakes can be process mistakes. Like, I maybe shouldn't have gotten drunk before the final. Like, that's learning, right? Like, or,
and that's the softer area to learn in. Maybe not something that is going to be so prevalent in your career, but something that has a little bit less pressure to it.
We put you in a safe environment into challenging situations in a scaffolded way, right? So we try not to like throw you in the deep end, right? That's why you're starting with the Compass curriculum at the 1000 level, right? And then once you've done that, it's like, okay, I've learned this, and now I can do this, and I can do that, right? So it's a safe place to fail. And honestly, like anything in entrepreneurship, right? There's lots of failure that happens.
It's all we talk about,
right?
I think that a lot of people are really scared to share failure because it is a really scary feeling, but I don't think that you can get to success without failure.
That's right.
And so I think it's great that you're building an environment where failure is to be expected and it's not shameful.
That's right. And of course, the rate of change right now is so rapid.
So exponential.
It's just exponential. And how do we make sure that students are adaptable to that rate of change? Of course, AI is a big part of that, right? How are we not just incorporating AI learning to use it effectively and knowing, when to use it ethically. And also there might be some classes where a faculty member might not want you to use it for this particular assignment. There's a reason for that. It's not necessarily just like outright rejection of AI as in principle, right? But just because they want you to learn something in a particular way. And there might be other assignments or other courses where you're, really using it, to make progress on whatever challenge and project that
Very
you're
much
doing.
teaching the time and place of when to use that tool. Because it is a tool, but sometimes it can be a deterrent if it's used, wrong.
Well, and we want you to be able to graduate and come out and have, completed projects where the AI tools, whatever tools that you're using, have enhanced the project.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's just one current, relevant topic. But the kind of thinking about that Compass curriculum, I think it's really important that the faculty take that time to reflect on what else, is relevant and current right now.
For sure. Well, so I've loved listening to you. I think that it's been really cool to hear, more of the bigger picture of the university. I think it's so easy to just look right in front of you and only think about what's right in front of you. So it's really cool to hear about kind of what's going on behind the scenes. But to kind of wrap up, I was thinking, if any students are listening and want to be more engaged and take better advantage of what the university has to offer, what's one thing that you wish more students understood or did?
Well, I hope for every student out there, okay, that you take advantage of an opportunity that's not required of you, okay? So let's say you're going to major in whatever you're going to major in, and then there's requirements. I got to take this, I got to take that. You're ticking off the boxes, okay? And then you can get your diploma and you'll get a great education, okay? However, there are all kinds of additional opportunities that you can avail yourself of, like an undergraduate research project. Best thing to do is ask your professor, what do you research? Because they may be teaching you college algebra, but they may be doing other research on something else. Like I might be teaching intermediate Spanish, but researching 17th century Spanish drama. Right?
Something that could be more appealing to me as the student,
right,
to learn more about.
And then, they may be working on a project where they need help. Sometimes research projects can be so big, there's like a whole lab of people like working on different parts of the problem, right? Of the overarching problem. And if you just ask, you might be able to get involved in one of those projects. I think internships are another. I'm basically listing all kinds of these like additional, we call them high impact practices in education jargon, but they're additional experiential opportunities where you are taking what you've learned and now I'm going to be an intern at some local company or whatever, and then I'm going to work on a real world project.
Yeah, and actually put those skill sets and that learning into application.
That's right. And of course, as a language person, I would be remiss if I didn't suggest that everybody take another language other than English, okay? And you just, it completely enhances your worldview. You might get a chance to study abroad, and it helps engage you with other cultures, and it actually helps prevent Alzheimer's and enhances your neural networks by studying another language. So think about that as well.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for talking with me.
Yeah.
I really appreciated it. And I think a lot of students will appreciate to hear your perspective as well.
It's great to meet you.
So great to meet you.
And that's today's journey into innovation. Now, want to explore the research and ideas we mentioned today? Everything is linked in the show notes. If you want to be a guest, I'd love to hear your story. Find the submission form at our website, c3innovation.uccs.edu. Innovation Springs is a production of C3 Innovation at the UCCS Kramer Family Library. Studio recording is provided by the Garage at EPIIC. Hayley Blackburn is an affiliate faculty member in the Digital Humanities Center. Theme music is from Simon Trumpf-Lipine, Dreaming of Innovation, Storyblocks. Follow at c3innovation.uccs on social media and check out our website for events, programs, and more opportunities. For more content on the digital humanities, head over to labs.uccs.edu/CREFDH. And for more innovation initiatives, go over to EPIIC.uccs.edu with our friends in EPIIC. See you next episode.